Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm KRX and we are playing as France. We're doing sort of a beginner tutorial on patch 1.25. We have all the DLCs enabled and this is part 2, so let's get back into it. So what was going on? So the first episode was way too long. I apologize for that. This one will be a more appropriate length, I think. Not too long but not too short. And for the most part we were fiddling around a lot with the diplomatic map mode. And sort of checking out our neighbors, seeing who likes who and what's what and who our friends are going to be. We have our diplomats doing some actions at this point. We haven't unpaused the game yet, but they're sort of queued up to go and do different things. One diplomat has sent a alliance request to Castile. We're expecting them to accept it because this tells us they will. One diplomat is getting in good with the Pope, and that'll be really good. And we have the last diplomat who is building a spy network in Aragon to the south. So that will pave the way for war, and we will see how that works. So we haven't really looked much at the country of France and our position. We've looked at our physical position in the world, but not really how we're doing internally. But I think one thing that's going to lead us to that naturally is going to be these banners up here. So the banners up here are just things that we should probably take a look at before we unpause the game. It's saying we have too few rivals. Well, we already talked a bit about rivaling. And if we click on this, it'll take us to our diplomacy screen. It gives us a reminder of these are the two nations that we've rivaled so far. England, because they have land that... I mean, there's no way that England and France will be friends this game. They have land that rightfully belongs to us. We will be... England is priority number 1, pretty much. So England's got to go. Burgundy, though, actually just declared to the world that they hate us, so we decided to say, well, we hate you too. No big deal. And we do have an available spot here, and this has been... We were talking a bit about this. The thing, we could do Austria. It'd be a strong rival, and we would continue to have that rival... Oh, wait, no. No, Aragon. Yeah, I think we decided that we were going to go Aragon because we're planning already to attack Aragon. So I think for whatever reason it didn't save that choice because I think we did choose it last time. So we're going to actually rival Aragon. They do like us. They do like us, but the fact is we don't like them. Castile doesn't like them, and we're friends with Castile. We chose Castile, so let's look for a second what else is going on up here. So we took care of the big red banner. These are green. So they're saying kind of, you know, these are things you could, you know, you could check on. But they're not the most critical thing in the world. Let's just, you have a free advisor slot. Let's just click on that. Left click. Okay, so this takes us to the court, which, if you remember from episode 1 when I was sort of giving the grand speech about EU4, I was talking about how one of the things that this game tries to simulate is the leadership of the nation. So that's not just literally the one leader who is Charles VII. Right here. This is our king, King Charles VII, and these are his stats here and so on and so forth. In fact, he's actually got some traits. This is one of the DLC features. It adds these traits. He's 41 years old. Apparently we can actually abdicate him at this age, at 41. Usually I always thought you had to wait till they were a bit older than that, but we can actually get rid of him. We could say, you know what, Charles, your time has come to an end. We can get rid of him. So this, again, we have the power, right? We have the power. This is our leader at the moment, but we can get rid of him and grab this heir here, Louis, or Louis, and can rule our nation at the ripe age of 21 here. So, in fact, I believe 15 years old is the youngest that someone can be to rule the nation. And we have a queen. Okay, so this is our leadership here. The queen is sort of there in case there isn't a king available, right? So the queen will step in if there's no king that's available. But as long as, at least with the current government system that we have, as long as there's an heir, the heir will take over. I don't even think it's really that it has issues that this is a queen. It's just more that Marie is not part of the direct... She's married in, right? She's married in, and she's not going to be the ruler unless there's no other choice. I think it has less to do with the fact that she is the queen and more to do with the fact that she's not part of the immediate line. So we're good here. We have a backup in case our ruler dies, because they do pass away. They age and pass away. They can pass away for a number of different random reasons. It is kind of a random element of the game, them kind of coming and going. But we're looking good here. There's nothing we can really do about this except for get rid of these people. That costs us some of this currency up here that we haven't really talked about. And there's some big negative numbers here. Minus 20 legitimacy, minus 50 prestige. So we have no issues with King Charles VII right now. No reason to do anything about that. But this does give us sort of a sense of his skill, right? So the higher the numbers, the better. The lowest they could be is 0. Actually, they could actually be a 0 value for any of these here, the administrative skill, diplomatic skill, and military skill. So in the highest they could be is 6. So a 4-2-4, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. If 4-3-2 is our heir, I'm not complaining about that either. In fact, actually the queen's looking the best right here, oddly enough. So let's go back to why we're even in this screen. Now that we're checking out the court here, the leadership of our nation here. It says we have free advisor slot. No advisor, no advisor, no advisor. So we can have a military, a diplomatic, and an administrative advisor. And basically these people here, we can click and see who's available. You know, we could hire this guy. We could hire this guy. It gives us a little bit of information about his culture and his religion. I don't know if that's going to matter too much at the moment. It could trigger, like, certain events and things could trigger based on if he had like a conflicting religion or culture. But anyways, all these guys seem to be pretty in line. And this guy, he gives us, you know, we pay him, he's an advisor. We have to pay him. He does a couple things for us. He gives us more administrative power per month, or he adds to our administrative skill. He adds to our administrative skill, which is actually summarized here because I believe the base is 3. Okay. Why does it say we've national focused diplomacy? Okay. I guess maybe it starts that way. So this is just showing how much administrative power we're getting per month. And basically our full administrative skill, diplomatic skill, and military skill summed together, because the base is 3, the value is 3. And we've actually, for some reason, I guess France starts the game. I don't remember hitting this button. We definitely didn't hit this last episode, and we definitely would not have hit the diplomatic one, but this lets us sort of have a focus. We can look at this in a second. We're definitely going to want to hit one of these buttons to focus on one of these different aspects of our nation. So, but either way, the advisors add to the skill that our ruler has, that our leadership as a whole has. So it'll make this number bigger. We'll get more of this per month. More is of course better. So we got people. These are the diplomatic advisors. These are the military advisors, and we can only have one of each. But as you can see, this person here is going to add 2 skill, so they're quite a bit stronger. Oh wow, this is interesting. There's some unique characters here, because as you can see, like this one's level 2, but only costs us 2 per month, where this one's level 2 and costs us 4 per month. I think, again, sometimes the game, because of the historical setting, sometimes things start off in a particular way. Like these are actually probably people from history, but as we get through the game, we'll start just getting like random people will start filling in the ranks here as these historical figures pass. So we actually have some advisors that are level 2 that would actually be potentially affordable. But see, so we have to pay them monthly. We literally have to pay them this salary. We have to give them a price to hire, like a signing bonus. And then we have to pay them this monthly. This is the skill that they're contributing. They're adding to the total. And then this is the sort of their special ability. So this guy would reduce the land maintenance modifier by -10. Increase the national manpower modifier by +10%. So on and so forth. So a lot of these numbers, so that's good that, okay, we know that we have advisors that we can hire. Now, can we actually afford any of these advisors? That's kind of the question, right? Can we actually afford these? I mean, 1 duck in a month, we have no context for that. So if we go through these tabs here, we're going to go to them as we need to reference certain things. But these are the tabs that control our country. So just as an example, we can go to the religious tab. or religion tab. So this, we're saying we're Catholic, everything looks good there. We have active cardinals. We actually already noticed that because we were talking about the papacy. I think this button will just actually bring, okay, that'll take us to Rome. We can click that to bring up the same button that we hit down here. Okay, so there's a lot of cross-referencing, right? We hit the crest to go back into that screen. We hit the crest. Go back into this internal status report of our nation broken down into all of its categories. So this is just an example of a religious screen, but we want to look at the economy. Let's go to the economy tab here. And sometimes this takes a month to update fully to sort of get, you know, and we might have to wait till December to get some actual values in here. But right now, at least it's saying that we're making 2 ducats a month. That's not an incredible amount. We can see kind of what we're paying for. It looks like we have forts. In fact, we can actually kind of see them on the map. Forts here, and they just, I mean, they literally just slow down the attackers. They defend our lands. I mean, they're useful, but they're expensive. So like a lot of our money is actually getting spent on forts. And there's a couple things we can do about that. We can either reduce the fort maintenance and actually put some of these forts, make them inactive during peacetime, right? Because, I don't know, do we need this fort fully garrisoned during peacetime? That's a question that we're going to have to ask. So yeah, we're paying a lot of money for our forts, I'm noticing. We're also paying a lot of money for our armies. And we're paying some money for the Navy, but in fact, I can just visually see that, okay, we have army here, we have an army here. And sort of snuck down here. If we kind of move them out to sea, we can see it is a larger ship, but when they're docked, it's sort of a tiny little, it's just a tiny little cluster of ships. This is our army here. 2 heavy ships. Those are actually very expensive, I can tell you that much. 4 light ships and the 8 transports. So I don't know what we're going to want to do with the ships, but what we can do, if we are looking to save money, I'll just point this out. We can hit this button here to mothball them. So when we mothball them, they'll, right now we're maintaining the ships, right? We're cleaning them, we're keeping the crews active, everybody's drilling. Everything's basically at 100%, right? We're ready for, like, they're ready to act. These ships are ready to act. If we mothball them, these ships are going to decay and sort of, they're not going to have their full crews. They're going to go down into a state of only being at 25% efficiency, basically. They're literally going to have to, and when we go to war, we're going to have to preemptively get those ships back into shape where we can use them. So at the short term, though, we could do this because I believe, yeah, so what this does is by mothballing the fleet, the benefit of this, though, is it behaves as if the Navy maintenance slider was at 0. We go to this, we're saying we're paying 1.37 ducats for our Navy. It's as if we went like this and slid it all the way down to 0. So we're still paying some. We still have to pay for the ships. There's still some maintenance that has to be done. But we'd only be paying half as much. We'd be making more money per month. You know what? France, our Navy is really not that impressive, and we don't need the Navy to do a lot of work against, I'm just sort of getting ahead of myself there. We don't really need the Navy to do a lot of work against England. Well, we would if we wanted to go to England immediately. Either way, I think we're going to mothball these. We can get the ships ready. We can get these ships ready for war. When we decide when we're going to go to war, we can prep them. We can prep the ships. But for now, let's go back to our economy screen. Let's just reduce that down to there. And make a little bit more money per month. Now, technically, we could do a similar thing with our armies as well. We can lower this to make more money from our armies. I don't know if we're going to want to do that. We'll wait to make that kind of a decision, I think. So where are we making our money from? Well, most of it's coming in through taxation. So the richer our provinces, and again, our nation is divided into all these little provinces here. And the richer and more successful they are as a province, the more taxation we're going to get from them. But the provinces also produce goods. We make money through the production of those goods as well. And then, of course, we're doing some trading. So if we go to this tab, it actually is called the trade tab, and we can see a bunch of numbers here. And I'm not really that concerned with any of these numbers here whatsoever, but it's, you know, it's something interesting to look at. I mean, we can reference some of this stuff in the future if we care, but it is saying we're making, here's another number showing us that, second, let's go. Last month you got 6 ducats from trade. See, I don't think this is accurate, because if we go here, it says we are making 2.77. So let's not get too excited for that number yet. This is like just talking about trade nodes. This is sort of a menu that we can just, we can send our merchants here. So again, we do have 2 merchants. This tells us up here. We have merchants and they're here and here, but that doesn't help us. Like we can't see the merchants. So what we want to do is there is a trade map mode right next to the political map mode. There's a trade map mode. And this is actually kind of a complicated screen. We're going to kind of set this and forget about it, but this is kind of what we're looking at here. We're looking at sort of visualizing where France is, and we're noticing that, okay, here's Paris. France is kind of in this section here. This is the Bordeaux trade node. Everything in blue. The production that exists, the production in the economy that happens in these provinces is sort of dictated through the Bordeaux trade node. Okay, so it's saying we have 32% of the control over this trade node. And we have a trader here that looks to be actually steering trade. It says, you know, so we are steering trade towards Champagne. So we are steering the trade over here to where we collect it. So right here, if we hover over this, we collect 2.77 ducats from this node. We automatically collect here because this is where our capital is. Our capital is in the Champagne province or trade node, so we're going to collect here. But the funny thing is we actually don't really have that much control. We only have 23% here. We have 32% over here. So the other thing that looks like that we're doing is we are actually collecting down here. We're using a trader to do this. We can't collect from here automatically. Actually, what are we doing here? Trading policy, maximize profits. Yeah, collecting from trade in Genoa. So we're collecting trade down here, but we only have 12% of the node. But it's a very, very, very rich node. So that might be worth it. That might be worth it. We're automatically collecting here because our capital is here. We are collecting here with a trader. We're using a trader to collect here. We don't need to collect here because we're just moving this all over such that, you know, the truth is we might actually make more just collecting here. Except for the fact that, how much are we actually steering? No, we wouldn't make more here because we're not the only ones steering here. We also have Burgundy. And we have another nation. We have multiple nations that are steering the trade away. So we probably won't make more money collecting here than if we just steer it into this trade node. So basically, so we're looking at trade. So we don't have to, I don't think we have to do anything with our trade. I think our traders are doing just fine. But these arrows show which way trade can flow. So trades actually, we're not allowed to take this 12% and move it into the Champagne node. That would actually be what's best for us, is to move this trade this way, but trade doesn't flow that way. Trade flows into Genoa. As you can see, it literally only flows in to Genoa. It only flows into the Venice trade node. It only flows into the English Channel. These are trade nodes that they're sort of called end nodes. And the community, I don't know, there's a lot of sort of, you know, end node is kind of a term in the community because these will get very, very, very wealthy. That's the idea. Like the trades ultimately, unless it, like it's getting, you know, we're collecting a little bit of it here, but, or let's say we got people collecting here, right? So Brittany up here is collecting in Bordeaux. That's what this tells us down here. They're collecting down. So they're actually taking money out of this trade node. It's not allowing it to go down here, but everything that they can't collect, that the nations don't collect, is getting moved along. So And then some of what we like, here's the funny thing, some of the money that we would rather be collecting here is actually getting moved. It's getting moved down to Genoa. Because this arrow right here says it's, you know, this one ducat is getting moved down every month. So again, the Genoa is like, this is definitely there's two things here, the English Channel and the Genoa trade node. These are the two trade nodes that we might have to decide kind of, what do we want to do? Like, do we want to push for the, like, because, so by getting more provinces, getting more territories in these nodes, we will start to dominate these trade nodes and make a lot of money. That's kind of the idea, right? These are sort of giving us targets for provinces that will help us get more money out of these trade nodes. And these are very wealthy trade nodes. As we can see, we're, you know, 12 ducats there, 17 ducats here. There's only 8 ducats in Champagne. There's only 1 ducat in Bordeaux. Like, Bordeaux is actually really not doing that well right now at the beginning of the game. But we're also seeing these little icons popping up all over the world here. And these represent centers of trade. Centers of trade. So these basically give, these provinces have a disproportional amount of control over this wealth. Right, and they're spread all around. These are significant provinces. Of course, Genoa themselves have a center of trade. Naples has a center of trade here, so they're spread all around the trade node. But these are provinces that have particular value in these nodes. So by taking these provinces, you can sort of disproportionately get more and more control than if you just took like Zaragoza for an example. Zaragoza isn't going to influence our ability to control this money as much as Valencia or this province here. So I think that's enough looking at the trade. So everything looks good. What we've done is we've checked our traders and we've made sure they're not doing anything dumb. Collecting in Genoa I think is good. Pushing the trade from Bordeaux into Champagne I think is good. So trade looks to be fine. So we're making 2.77 ducats from trade. We can't really do anything about that in the short term. The only thing we can do is, like I said, we can target those pieces of land. We can target these pieces of land, like here, here, and here, and try to get those so that we can strengthen our power in these nodes and hopefully control more of the trade money. So there's basically just a bunch of money in trade, and we're just trying to get as much of it as possible. Trying to get as much of it as possible. And our traders allow us to use our power in the node to control the money. State maintenance. Turns out we can't really do anything about this. This just means that we have a certain amount of states in our nation. And sort of the... this is like a cost. So this is presumably this number is going to go up the larger we get. This is sort of a cost for being a large nation. As we go up, the state maintenance is just going to go up. And we're just going to have to deal with that. It's literally all of the cost involved in sort of maintaining the nation as it is. Okay, so we are making money. That's good. In fact, we're making almost 3 ducats a month. We could go back to the court and we could look and see, okay, do we want to grab any of these leaders? Here, this guy will actually boost our trade efficiency, so we'll make more money from trade. This guy, though, look at this. This guy will actually boost our tax modifier. And we just looked and we just noticed we're making a ton of money from tax. We're making a ton of money from tax. I bet you, the funny thing is 10% more tax. I think this guy's going to pay for himself. This guy is literally going to pay for himself. I think we're going to grab Pierre and have him hired on. Oh, that's interesting. So one of the DLCs, I guess, gives you the option to promote. We can promote this guy to level 2 if we wanted, but it costs a bunch of money. So we had to give him a signing bonus, right? So we do have, now we're looking at the amount of money that we start with in our treasury. So we have 279 ducats at the start of the game, and we're making some, but not a lot. So look at that. We're not quite paying for ourselves. Or wait, are we making more money now? Not quite. Not quite. Something's tweaked a little bit. But we're almost paying for that guy. So that was really good. We could actually hire another one. So military one would be good. In fact, this guy says he reduces the land maintenance modifier by 10%. Well, let's go back to that economy. We're paying 9 ducats a month. Heck, this guy might actually pay for himself too. That's very interesting. This guy might pay for himself as well. Let's go back to our economy screen and see how that definitely cut the army maintenance significantly. So yes, he's not literally paying for himself, but we're only losing about 0.3 ducats a month. But now we have 2 advisors that are hired, and we're getting their additional skill, right? We're getting more administrative skill and more military skill, and we're also getting these benefits which might scale as we continue on in the game. And then we could look at the diplomacy here. You know, this guy will help us build spy networks quicker. This guy will boost our trade efficiency. I don't know. We can wait on that. We can wait on that. So we've looked at our leadership. We've filled in, we've gotten a couple advisors. We've looked at our economy. Things are looking pretty good, but we're not making tons and tons of money yet. Let's go to the next tab. Go to the next tab. Okay. You can build province improvements. Okay. So this is just saying that we've unlocked, our technology has unlocked the castle. And this is basically opens up a build screen. This is just telling us that we have provinces that we can build stuff in. Well, that's not really helpful. That's not really helpful because obviously we have provinces we can build from. More than 3 provinces. Like we could put a castle in any of these provinces that don't already have one, right? That doesn't mean we want to. How expensive was that? It's 200 ducats to build a castle, and these castles are costing us a ducat a month. So I don't think we need to build any more castles, but this at least does tell us that, hey, there's stuff to build in this game. And if we look at this, for example, the church. So it increases local tax modifier by 40%. Wow, okay, so this is a building that we can build. Once we unlock it, it says Administrative Tech Level 4. Now we're like, okay, there's a technology thing in the game. We can check that out. So this is saying for 100 ducats, we can build this church. It'll take us 12 months to build it. It'll increase the tax by 40%. Well, this game... Again, this game is a 400-year campaign. If we can get some of these churches down early, they will pay for themselves in no time, right? In no time. So we can look here and see that we haven't actually unlocked really many buildings. Production boosts the production efficiency, which is also a way that we make money. The market boosts local trade power. The Navy, this is related to building ships and things. The Army, this is related to growing a larger army. Increasing the force limit, increasing the manpower modifier, things like that. Government-related stuff, just improving the province in other ways. So if we look here, it's saying that we can build in these areas. Let's go here and look at a province for a second. Let's just be kind of quick about this, but here's a tab that lets us see what buildings are here. There's no buildings in this province right here. In this specific province, there are no buildings here. But we have room for 3. We can click on that to build. And here we get a screen saying that, you know, these are all grayed out because we don't have the technology for any of these yet. We can build the castle. That's the only one that we can build here. We don't need to build anything here because we already determined we don't need to build. We don't need to build a castle. But that's how we go to the problem. Let's say we wanted to, instead of going to that screen that's kind of useless, this thing, and just going there, this is useless to us. Maybe we already know we want a castle in Bern. So we can go here and we can just see, okay, yes, there's an available slot in Bern. We can grab this and we can grab the castle and we can try to build it. But we're not going to do that. That's too expensive. Maybe in the future we'll build more castles, but too expensive right now. So what another way that you can, so let's get rid of that. But another way, the build, so this is like, how is it the status of our nation, right? All these tabs here. And we already talked about technology, how we need to get to level 4 for the church. So what technology are we at? If we go to the technology tab here, we can see that we're at technology level 3 for everything. 3 administrative, 3 diplomatic, and 3 military. Okay. And it's going to tell us these are the benefits we get for going to level 4. Why can't we get this yet? Like what's the requirements for getting this? So it says you don't have enough administrative power. You need 598 power and only have 84 available. Oh, okay. So administrative power up here, and we're getting 7 per month, and that's because of our leadership. And we're getting more because we hired this advisor. Now it's all kind of coming together, right? So we need this administrative power to boost our administrative technology, which of course is going to unlock us new things that make our nation more powerful, right? So if we look at the military one, it's going to improve our military tactics and our land morale. Don't really know too much about that yet, how those work, but it's gonna we can safely assume that this will make our forces more efficient, right? Improving our tactics, our strategy, and our morale is going to make our troops more effective in battle. So that's going to be really important to get. And the diplomatic, it looks like it's going to give us some trade stuff, a trade building, the marketplace, and also increase our trade range. Okay. So this is just over here, we don't need to look at any of this. This is a summary of what the technology is already giving us. So we can hover over this and see at level 1 we gained 100 trade range. At level 2 we gained 100 more trade range. So this is just a summation of what the technologies are giving us right now. We might need to reference some of these numbers, like our morale or something, but we don't need to look at this really at all right now. So that's our technology. So we know that we need power. We need these power points to increase our technology, and that's a big deal because, you know, we don't want to get behind on technology because the more efficient we are on technology, the more powerful our nation is, just as a general... just like in any game, any civilization game, you want to be in the cutting edge of technology. Okay, so we've looked at our economy. We've sort of discovered what the power is all about. We've looked at our technology. It said that we could build buildings, but there's other things we can build too, like units. And we will look at that in a second. So basically, so we've looked at our economy. We're making money. We're making a good amount of money, actually. Like at the beginning of the game, depending on the nation you're playing, you shouldn't necessarily expect to be making more than like a ducat per month. In fact, some of these smaller nations, if you're playing as Lucca, you might only be making half a ducat a month. You got to make it work with half a ducat a month. So, but France, of course, we're making some good money. We're making some good money, and we still have a big army. So, the last tab here. Disputed successions. Okay, Denmark. It's just giving us a huge list of nations that probably have weak claims. Like their heirs have weak claims to the throne. Or they don't have any heirs at all and they have low prestige. Because what happens is if you don't have an heir, so remember we were looking at our court. If we didn't have an heir and we didn't have a queen and our ruler dies, we could fall into a personal union with another nation. Like they could take control of us. Luckily, we're secure. We have an heir, we have a queen. We're completely secure, but these nations are not fully secure. Part of it also has to do with prestige. So it's pointing out that these nations have low prestige. And that sort of is a number that can protect them. Having higher prestige can protect them from being... assumed by another nation. So this is just giving us an idea of like, here's some nations that are kind of, you know, could be willing to... In fact, actually, the funny thing is it actually shows England here. England. So apparently England has no heir. No heir. But there's nothing we can do about that because they will not royal marry us. So the way that we would try to attack this would be to try to royal marry some of these nations. Get our blood in there so that when their ruler dies that we might be able to assume their country. All right, so we kind of know what's going on with France at this point. We've looked at most of these tabs, not all of them. There's one more thing that we need to look at, I think, and we're going to jump ahead. So it's kind of like, let's just take a look and see what is France, the nation, the computer of France, the start of the game. What does France actually want to do? Okay, we know what we want to do. We need to attack England. But the game actually might already be in alignment with us. Let's go to the missions tab. Okay, I'm surprised there isn't anything up here that'll direct us to the mission. Let's get rid of the disputed claims. We don't really care about that. It's not as crazy as it sounds. That's why it's green rather than yellow or red. Okay, so missions. These are missions for France. And a lot of them are specific, okay? And these are things that will kind of guide us if we don't know what we're doing. Don't know what we're doing. So the reconquer Normandy, okay? So we already wanted to do that. We already wanted to do that. So all provinces in the Normandy area owned by France. So these areas here, we need to own these provinces here. In fact, Normandy specifically might just be these. I don't know if it's all of them or if it's just 3, but we need to basically take them all back eventually anyways. Okay, so it's also saying, so that's basically how we complete this mission. And it's saying if we do complete this mission, then we'll get permanent claim on Brittany. We'll get a permanent claim to these lands. So by reclaiming this land here, we will be rewarded with the ability to have a legitimate reason for attacking Brittany, which is kind of interesting. And then we can see that that leads into a new another mission to subjugate Brittany, and we may or may not want to do that. There's other things that we could do with Brittany, but either way, we definitely want to do that, so we're going to be working on that. It's saying build to our force limit. Okay, well, we haven't really talked about our force limit much. We talked about our force limit a lot. French naval power, have more or equal heavy ships than 20. So basically, the way they word this here is just because it's sort of an algorithm that's spitting out numbers here. But basically, they want us to build a lot of heavy ships. Well, I will tell you right now, heavy ships are very expensive. We can check on that. We can check on that, but I don't think we're going to be doing this in the short term. We don't have to do these immediately. Whoops, I'm sorry about that. We don't have to do these immediately. We can do these over time. High income. Okay, so obviously we want more income, not less. So over time, as we grow our nation, as we expand, as we take new lands, our income presumably, because we're getting taxation for these provinces, right? So if we take these provinces here, we would naturally be getting taxation from these provinces as well. So our income will go up over time. Right now it's saying we need an income of 32 to complete this mission, and we only have an income of 22. Okay, so there's nothing we can do about that in the short term except for, you know, conquer more lands. So it's all kind of feeding back to reconquer Normandy. This is the big mission that we're going to be working on. We already knew that we wanted to do that. Reconquer Gascony. Okay. So Normandy, I believe, is... in Normandy are these provinces here, right? Oh, I'm sorry. If we... oh, cool. So if we go back and we hover over the question mark, it'll show us... yeah, it'll... see how it's highlighting this in purple? That's the requirement for this mission, is to take these 4 pieces of land. This here is telling us the requirement for this mission is to take these 3 pieces of land. They're all owned by England. Okay, so we have lots of goals to go after England. We already kind of determined that just by role-playing and looking through the world and seeing what's up. We've already figured out that we need to go to war with England, but if we hadn't, or whatever, it, you know, this helps us here. Oh. This will give us claims on Provence. Interesting. Okay, very cool. That'll give us a claim specifically on these areas here. Okay, so the one thing that we already know we need to do that stuff. We already knew that. We can't do anything about the high income besides go to war and get more land, and hopefully we'll boost our income by doing that. Naval power, let's check on these though. So this wants us to build 20 heavy ships. This wants us to build up to our force limit. And that sounds like a good idea. If we have room to get more troops, maybe we should get more troops before we go to war with England. Let's take a look at this here. We do that by going to the production interface. This is where we build troops. It defaults to land units. So we can build troops here. It looks like it's going to be, to hire them, again, a little bit of a signing bonus. It's going to be 10 ducats. And then we're only going to have to pay them 0.2 ducats per month. Cavalry units are more expensive at 0.48 ducats per month. So we're making 3 ducats a month, right? Less than 3 ducats a month. So as we can see, cavalry is pretty expensive. We wouldn't be able to get too many more cavalry, but we could definitely get more infantry. Down here it's saying the force limit is, we're at 28,000 troops out of 38,000 troops. And we have a composition right now of 20 infantry and 8 cavalry. In fact, we actually have a lot of cavalry. That's probably where a lot of our money is going, is cavalry. In fact, that's, yeah, the cavalry is more expensive. 8 cavalry is more expensive, I believe. Yeah, about equally expensive to the 20 infantry. So we're probably going to be building more infantry. And we do have the money to do this. It would take us about 200 ducats to get 10 more infantry to complete that mission. Now, what exactly was the rewards for that mission? Go back to the crest, to go back to the, it remembers that we were on the mission screen. So this is the reward, this is the requirement. This is the rewards. Morale of armies, okay, again, and reduces the maintenance modifier for the armies, cool. So it'll save us a little bit of money for the next 25 years, and it'll boost their morale, it'll boost their combat effectiveness. Nice. So that's really good. We definitely want to do that before we go to war with England, because that's going to make us more efficient when we're fighting England. So we can go to naval ships here. And if we look, here is the heavy ship. So we only have 2 heavy ships. The mission wants us to have 20 heavy ships. We would need to build 18 of these. They're 50 ducats a piece and 0.5 ducats a month. We literally just can't afford this. We can't afford this, especially if we're going to be training a bunch of troops. We literally cannot afford to do that mission yet for the French Navy. We'll have to work on that later in the game when we're more powerful. Again, that's not something we're immediately expected to do right away. It's something that we can do in the future, and we'll work on it. And there's a bunch of other tabs here that we'll check out later as we need. As we need to. I think the last thing we do, so let's get some troops building. Let's get some troops building, and then we'll think about, so we're doing this for the mission, and also to prepare for war against England. So what is this actually costing us in total? So as you can see, it doesn't tell us this. This is actually, it's kind of assuming that we already know this. So this is kind of sneaky of them. This is costing us 1,000 manpower. We're training 1,000 troops, therefore it costs us 1,000 manpower. That manpower doesn't disappear, it just becomes active troops on the ground. So we have 15,000 troops, or sort of manpower, ready to go to replenish troops when they die in battle. So right now, our maximum is 44,000, and it says that we're getting about 400 per month. So we have, it looks like we have, yep, we have 10, it says in production right now, we have 10 groups of 1,000 infantry being built in these provinces. Once these are built, we can organize our armies in a particular way and stage them around France, where, you know, get them ready for attacking England. But for now, they are, they're getting ready, they're training, they're organizing themselves, and so on and so forth. So we got that going. That actually didn't cost us as much as I thought. That only cost us 100 ducats, not 200. But it's going to cost us, once they're built, it's going to cost us 2 ducats a month. So if we, let's just double check our economy here. Yeah, we're still going to be making money, but it's going to be tight. It is going to be tight. So yeah, we're going to be making a lot less money, but we're going to have a fully functional army. So that's going to be really, really good. The last thing we need to look at in terms of our terms of our starting situation is this button here for the estates. And this is added with the DLC, but next patch, when the next expansion comes out, this will be added to the base game. This will be added to the base game. So these are the estates. These are like the guilds in our nation. There is a map mode for these guys. So if we can find that here, we can find that we've sort of added it to this section here. So this is showing that this is how the guilds control. They sort of have extra control over these territories. So this is, I believe, the traders or whatever, the burghers, traders. Of course, this is sort of a French naming of the burghers or the traders. And then it looks like the clergy have control of these areas, and the nobility have control of these areas. And basically, you know how we're thinking about this game right now, sort of in these different categories: administrative, diplomatic, and military. It's sort of like administrative. Diplomatic is sort of also like trade, or like trade and diplomacy is kind of similar. So the burghers are diplomatic in a sense. They're like trade related. And clergy is administrative. And the nobility is sort of military focused. The way they affect the provinces, they sort of boost its ability to contribute militarily, whereas the burghers boost the amount of production and trade power, and the clergy boost the amount of tax income from the provinces. So by having the estates in these various provinces, they're making the provinces stronger, but they're specializing. They're making them weaker in other ways, but stronger in certain ways. So it's sort of like specialization. And for the most part, we just got to make these people happy. Right now, they're happy with the amount of influence that they have in the world, and they're happy with the amount of land that they control. In fact, they probably control more land than they really need to, but we're not going to revoke it yet because we will be growing. And as we grow, the amount of land that they control will go down. We'll have to satisfy them. So these are some benefits that they're giving us in their current state. Loyalty seems to be at about 50%. It always trends towards 50%. 0% would be like no loyalty, and 100% would be complete loyalty, right? So by boosting these values here, we get different benefits over here. We click this button, though, we can interact. This is how we actually interact with the guilds and the clergy and the nobility. We can hit these buttons here. Like here, we can lose 5 prestige, but we can boost their loyalty and things like that. Here it's saying we can actually... This is kind of annoying. We are going to be playing around with this a lot more. This ends up kind of being annoying. This is why they're changing it, but making it free in the next patch. So this is going to get reworked a lot. What I'm going to say is they can give us military power. We just determined that we need this for technology, right? So this is a really good button to hit, but it says the loyalty is going to drop 20, and we're at 50 currently, so it'll go to 30. That's bad. We want to keep their loyalty at 50. Well, we want to keep it at least 50 or above, right? Or, well, okay, because I've played the game, I know that 40 is sort of the minimum threshold. Below 40, they get pissy, okay? So at 40%, we're good. Above 60%, we get little benefits and stuff. So it's good to have it higher. This is going to lower their loyalty, but we do want to press this button for the military power. Now, see, look at this. Now we're actually like getting some negative modifiers here. Okay, so how do we fix that? Well, here we're going to go and notice how can we increase their loyalty here. And it just so happens we can lose some prestige and make them happy. We can make them happy. But it also increases their influence. So now actually it's increased the effect. The influence determines the influence determines how strong of an effect they have. The loyalty determines what the effect is. So the loyalty is determining that we get manpower recovery speed 20%. The influence is determining that it's 20% rather than 15 or 10%. If it was low influence, we'd get less manpower recovery. If it was lower loyalty, we would get a negative modifier instead of a positive modifier. If we had a higher loyalty, we'd get even more of a modifier, like additional beneficial modifiers. So let's do the same thing over here. Again, prestige, boo-hoo, we don't care. Prestige always ticks to 0, so it's okay having it a little bit below 0. So let's do this. Basically, this button C, support the clergy, is basically the same as call a diet. You can see there's a parallel here. You lose a little bit of prestige and you get influence and loyalty. So let's boost that. Okay, we're getting all these nice benefits here. That's really cool. We can send this. Oh, this is like all beneficial, actually. We gain 10 papal influence. We were talking about that last. We'll talk more about that. That's the currency that we're working towards by buttering up the Pope, right? So more papal influence, that's good. It just improves their influence, and now we're getting even better modifiers over here. As long as they're happy, we're getting better modifiers. But they're not going to be completely happy because we are also going to go and demand that they support the administrative, or the administration, and give us administrative support. So now they're giving us less bonuses because they're less happy, but we're still high enough. We've balanced it in such a way that they're still helping us. In fact, we're actually making more money now that we're doing this too. And we just got 100, we got 10 papal influence, and we got 100 more administrative power. So by hitting these buttons, there's a cooldown on all these effects. We can only do them like every 20 years. So once we get this done, we're not going to have to mess with this at all anymore. At all. Again, you can see that this is kind of mirroring, this is sort of mirroring each other, right? There's sort of a pattern to this, and I hope that this gets changed. Because right now we're kind of just hitting buttons. Like we did that, we recruited a advisor here. But we just did it, we pulled one of them, someone from the guilds, we pulled him and put him into the potential court, right? We're not hiring him, but we're just sort of putting him in the pool of applicants, and that increases their influence because he's now moving and grooving in Paris, right? He's now part of the Paris scene. He's influencing our government, and hopefully he's probably an advocate for the burghers. So that is why it increased their influence to do that. So now we're in a position where, okay, we can actually start hitting these buttons here. Do we want, actually, we could just take a bunch of money from them instead of diplomatic power. This is an interesting choice. This is an interesting choice. Because we can't take both, right? If we take one, if we take the diplomatic power, we're going to drop too low. And by taking both, they're going to be upset. So we're only going to be able to take one. You know what? You can do this every 20 years, but you can do this every 10 years. I think we're actually going to hit the money. Let's get a big chunk of money. Comes with no strings attached. And it's telling us, hey, we can build profit. We already know we can build castles. We don't care about castles. Okay. We've looked at the last key of sort of our internal politics. Not going to look at that screen yet. Alrighty, guys. So I said this would be a shorter episode, and I lied. Sorry about that, everybody. Next episode will be shorter. And so next episode, this episode, we looked at our internal situation. We're preparing for war, but we don't really know how do we determine when we should go to war with England. Next episode, we will unpause the game. We will finish looking at we will ask a couple more questions. We have an idea of our technology. We know about our missions. We will kind of just cover a couple little things here that we've missed, maybe. And then we will start, like, literally focusing as our troops get built. We will unpause the game, build our troops. We will start focusing for a good time to go to war with England. And we will see all of the process, all the decision-making that goes into going to war with a nation. Okay, and we'll also try to strengthen our alliance network and make everybody happy. Well, the people that we care about, we'll make them happy. And the people we hate, we won't care about. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Hopefully next episode's going to be shorter. I apologize about that. But we actually did a good amount of stuff. And we've looked at a lot of stuff, and we've sort of set the stage to unpause the game now. Next episode will probably be coming out in a couple days. Thank you so much. I will talk to you guys later.